Adam Pendleton est un des artistes majeurs de sa génération. Il a une pratique vaste et puissante qui inclut la peinture, l'écriture, le dessin, le film et la performance aussi.
The title of the exhibition, These Things We've Done Together, is a kind of open statement that I think leads to a series of questions. Obviously, what are these things we've done together? And it's a kind of invitation to think about the individual in relationship to the collective and the collective in relationship to the individual.
Adam a une pratique qui est très engagée à plusieurs niveaux. C'est engagé au niveau de l'histoire de l'art et de pratique de l'art, c'est-à-dire c'est une pratique qui pousse des limites de qu'est-ce que la peinture, par exemple, pourrait être, mais aussi c'est une pratique qui est très engagée socialement.
The Untitled paintings are a body of work that I've been working on for several years now. And it's always interesting to continue to work on a particular body of work and see how it shifts and the interesting changes that occur as you continue to mine an idea, particularly a visual idea. There's this kind of tension between the intentional mark and the accidental mark. So that which I intend to do and that which kind of happens, these kind of chance occurrences. And that's one of the many things that fascinates me about the painting process, is that it's like control and loss of control.
Dans la première salle de l'exposition, on est entouré de 4 tableaux magistraux et monumentaux. Donc on voit ces lettres qui, oui, semblent former des mots « we are not », nous ne sommes pas, mais sont dans un état de disparition en même temps. Donc il y a une sorte d'impulsion à signification à la lecture, mais aussi un refus de cette lecture.
And you see that also, say, in the Black Dada drawings, which are also a series of marks that look at times intentional or as though they've been improvised even. And even also in the Mylar works, you have these kind of geometric shapes that kind of are melting on the surface of the work and kind of caught between being something very specific like a circle or a square or a triangle and kind of moving into a third space, which I would really think of as a kind of a more abstract space or visual reality.
Making matters worse, the 2 Cleveland police stood by idly, refusing aid while Tamir bled to death. When his 14-year-old sister attempted to help him, police wrestled her to the ground.
There's also a video on view, and it's really a conversation between myself and the choreographer, Yvonne Rayner. It's an interesting exchange, and it centers around Yvonne bringing something to the conversation and me bringing something to the conversation, which was a text that I asked Yvonne to read. And what Yvonne brought to the conversation was a simple gesture called arm drop, where you kind of rest your arms and hands on the others, and one person's arms drop, and then the other person catches the other person's arms, forearms, and hands. And I like how a simple exchange, read a text or do a gesture, can allow something much more complex to emerge.
On voit dans ce film, il y a une sorte d'échange entre ces 2 personnes. Un échange d'idées, oui, un échange de respect, mais aussi un échange physique. Et c'est ce contact au niveau conceptuel, mais aussi au niveau très humain, qui nous demande à considérer, oui, la possibilité de qu'est-ce qu'on pourrait faire ensemble, mais aussi la tragédie de qu'est-ce qu'on a fait ensemble par le passé, l'un contre l'autre.
I think one of the things that's really important to me is how to represent an idea visually. So an idea, of course, is something you can write down, but it's also something that can hover in the space between abstraction and representation. And I think that particular tension is of the greatest interest to me. What is the difference between representation and a kind of clarity, and abstraction and a kind of productive chaos or a beauty, a kind of dissonance? And what happens when these things merge, and not when one cancels out the other, but rather where they're conversant with each other and in a strange way, maybe even exhausted by each other.